that. Okay, we're live.
Good morning. Let us begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral, present, and future territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Today, we gather with the intent followed by the Living Peace and Friendship Treaties, with respect, cooperation, and coexistence. We are all treaty people. I call this meeting of Town Council, March 10th, 2026, to order. And I will take approval of the agenda or additions. Councillor Carver,
I move that the agenda be accepted as circulated.
with the change that you're doing a motion, is there?
Oh, well, yes, I'll just.
Okay. 8.2, Councillor Carver, we'll be doing 8.2. Any others? Okay, so Councillor Boone, you made a motion,
Sure, yes.
okay, and second by
Second.
Councillor Wilson. Thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Are you voting, Councillor? Oh, okay. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to acceptance of the meetings. Were there any errors or omissions? Being none, I will accept the minutes as they were presented. Announcements by council members. Welcome back to many of you, Councillor Paul Freeman.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The Home Bay Museum's reinstituting the Heritage Awards for 2026, and nominations are now open. There are different categories. The application forms, or nomination forms rather, are at the post office. The application deadline's March 25th, and the announced winners will be at the High Neighbour event on at the Mahone Bay Centre on May 23rd. So this is what it looks like at the post office. Where am I? There, okay.
It's also on their Facebook page too.
Yes, yes. There is a secondary announcement. Some time ago, Council sent a letter of concern about the Blue Lantern Scallop Farm. The Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture has formalized the application process now. We've got till March the 20th to submit to Department of Fisheries and Oceans and the Federal Department of Transport, if any concerns exist. The farm now has moved location. It occupies 50 acres, no, not 50 acres, 50, what's the other one?
Hectares.
Hectares, that's right, yeah. It's a huge site. And the change is that they're also now growing kelp, which means at the higher levels of, whereas before vessels could transfer over, now they can't. So the whole areas that they have, which extend just outside of Mahone Bay, off Andrews Island, off Rouse Island, and off the other one is further west. So if people have concerns, they should be writing to the Department of Fisheries and Transport, Fisheries and Aquaculture, and Federal Department of Transport. And probably the town should be updating its submission.
Okay, thank you for that information. Anybody else? I would just like to say I participated in a couple of Women's Day events, one at Second Story last Thursday, and I did another one Friday evening, which was hosted by the Harbor Host and the installation group. I forget the name, but
Alchemia.
yes, Alchemia. And it was very moving presentation. There'll be more, and it was about listening. There were no questions. There was no conversation. Oh, and Councillor Boone attended the evening event himself. So, and I just want to say we'll be celebrating Women's Day at our council cafe on on Thursday morning, and we have a special guest. Lady and Lord Spellington are coming to give us some, ladies, Spellington will be giving us some of her own take on International Women's Day in the write-up. I don't know if you've read her write-up about coming to council. It was rather humorous, but I think very inviting for people to take interest in coming in and just meeting and greeting with people and chatting. So hope to see people there. And I don't think there's anything else from anyone. No. Okay, so we'll continue on with, I see there, item 4, public input section. There is nothing. Presentations, we have none. So we'll go on to correspondences. Councillor Carver?
I'm looking at item number 1 under correspondence, the letter from Rhiannon Visser, seeking for clarification around the pool proposal and recreation development in the community. And I think that she's made many good points, and have wondered about what the best way forward might be with this. And I would like to ask the group here if it makes sense to refer this letter to the communications group, working group.
Councillor Halterman and then Karen.
Yes, the letter is well stated and well received. Recently, Council referred a review of Jubilee Park and the various recreational facilities to the Planning Advisory Committee. That seems to be a good place for it. We need to know what the individual components are and what the requirements are to fit the whole thing together, seems to me. There are a couple of immediate questions that she has in her letter. One is the immediacy of this, and I don't think there is an immediacy to it. It happened before I was on council, but since there's a new liner put in the pool, it's deferred the timing of this. So it's I don't think we're in a position to communicate precisely what's going on, nor do I think it's final. There are some plans that were built and made earlier, but that's subject to a fair bit of review, I would think. So my thought would be that it would be the letter would be referred to the Planning Advisory Committee to form part of the Jubilee Park review.
Okay, all right. Councillor Karen?
Yes, I thought it was an excellent letter, and two things. I agree that some of those questions should be sent to communications and answered. That, you know, we're not on the hook for $4 million. You know, that dispel some of that misinformation or presumptions that are out there. But I also think, as Brian said, you know, that Planning Advisory is in the process of developing a committee or a plan to look at all recreation, and I think we should go ahead with that. Not all recreation. I think bring it all under one umbrella with stakeholders from the community and invite this person to be part of that process. We get as much input from residents as we can on what do we want recreation to look like here.
CEO?
Yeah, I mean, those are, I think, all great points. As far as the communications committee, I would suggest the communications committee could take up on any communications aspect without, you know, necessarily having a formal referral. I think that's fine. I think there's, you know, referring it in 2 or 3 different directions could get a little bit complex, but those pieces could be taken up. I was originally, but I think the PAC points are great, going to suggest referring this to policy and strategy, just because the whole council's there and it actually meets relatively soon, and there are other related topics having to do with recreational, the MOU with MBU and things that are on that agenda. Ultimately, that may just be for a quick chat, and then the PAC discussion that was referenced, like at the last meeting, it was essentially decided that discussion would continue. and, likely would take a little while before an actual recommendation was made back to council. So I would suggest perhaps that we refer this letter to policy and strategy, just to have a quick discussion in relation to the other items on that agenda. And then comms and PAC, include this consideration in their already ongoing efforts. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, Councillor Boone?
Yeah, my only comment from my perspective, feeling a bit naive within all this. I'm not fully clear on what this policy is at this stage.
Well, we don't have a recreation
Yeah.
department,
No,
so.
no, but for the pool,
Oh,
this
right.
particular letter. So I'd just be interested in getting clarity. And you had spoken about being, making sure that we're on the same page type of thing in terms of what's communicated.
Okay, so let's do the PNS because it's sooner, and we have a more, unfortunately, Councillor Feeney won't be back then. I don't think
No,
so
he
to
won't.
join in, but he's our rep on the pool committee and he has been dealing with some of the financials there. So, but anyway, I'm sure he will send us information if we request it. And he has sent some things along recently as well. And then look at taking it to PAC.
And in the meantime, especially for the new council members, if you may have missed when this came up several years ago, I'll circulate the concept design and budget stuff from that. As Brian mentioned, it was really to get things going in terms of seeking external funding and discussing in the community what the options were. So
No
that's
decision.
something that is easily available for reference as to what a minimum standard for an outdoor pool constructed in this era might be, and where it might be cited within the park. So I'll circulate that by email just so that you've had a chance to review that.
Thank you.
Councillor Carver?
I'm wondering if the CAO could also circulate the public input consultation.
Oh yeah, the survey results. Yeah, I can
The
do that.
survey. Yeah, thank you. And what was the date of that? Do you recall?
The survey?
Yeah.
I think it was 2.5 years ago.
So not that-
It feels like it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that long. No, it's like post-COVID.
Okay. All
Can
right.
I,
Yes, Councillor Wilson.
can I move that we refer item 6.1 to policy and strategy?
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Carver. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Any other correspondences? The flag raising, is that something we have to approve of at council? So we did have a letter from Autism Nova Scotia to raise their flag. Do we have their flag?
They'll provide it.
They'll provide it,
Yeah.
will they?
for the
Okay.
policy, Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need a motion for that as well?
We do.
So could I happy move that council approve the flying of the autism Nova Scotia flag during the week of April 1st.
Second by Councillor Coffeyman, thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Good. Any other? Oh, I thought Councillor Carver, you had your hand up. Okay, so we'll move. Would someone like to accept? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor McCarron.
Yes, what about this peace run? Do we want to respond to that at all?
I think we weren't
we're
going
not
to
there yet?
discuss it at a,
Well, I think it would need to be forwarded to somewhere.
Okay,
Discussion.
yeah.
So, we did have a brief, the mayor and I, call with the people organizing it because they wanted to give us a little bit more information about it. And, essentially what it came down to was they don't need any permitting or assistance from the town. But if we want to celebrate the fact that this is coming through town, if we or any community groups want to, the town could catalyze that in some fashion. And then there was a further suggestion that if we didn't have, or even did have a peace park, maybe it would be a good opportunity to like dedicate the peace park or have some interrelation there. So those were just some ideas that they
Yeah.
shared, but they're not looking for anything from us.
They also have a tree planting program may fit in with our Edgewater Street landscaping.
Mhm.
And they have contacted the school to see if the school children want to run in it. and whatnot. Yes, Councillor
Do you
Coughlin.
have any idea what numbers are involved in this?
In terms of number of runners,
Yes.
it's a pretty small thing.
It's a small group. It's a global initiative.
Yes, I know.
Yes, and this is the Nova Scotia portion. And so that day, they are running from Halifax to Mahone Bay. My understanding
Yeah, I
is, and
think
going.
that was all one day or not, but yeah.
Yeah,
are
they're going through all the little communities. They're doing coastal.
So no massive disruption.
No, it
No,
didn't,
it
it didn't
shouldn't
require
be.
any road closures or
It
anything.
shouldn't be, and there'll probably no more. I think there's someone from Coastal Action that's involved in that run.
No, I think they were just saying they'd like to celebrate, like if
Oh.
we're coming down the shoreline,
Yeah,
you know, the trail will be open and they're intending to run down the new trail there. So it was a nice opportunity to
Okay.
celebrate some of the interaction, the environmental stuff, the shoreline. They were thinking they might connect with
Okay.
Coastal Action about
Okay.
something on the way through.
so
Yeah.
the
So
school
it's really
has-
about helping them connect with the community and if
Yes.
we want to do anything or not.
Yes, Councillor Carver.
I just wanted to flag the fact that we do have a Peace Guard.
Yes, well, we told them
Yeah,
that.
okay.
So when we said we were under, it was going to be maybe a bit renovated a bit, that area, and so they were interested in planting a tree there or anything else that we might, even as a post activity. Because there is a planting
So-
program.
Councillor McCarron have asked whether this needs to go to policy and strategy, is it?
Well, yeah, I think we should acknowledge in some way, plan some sort of
Okay,
greet them,
would you
or
like to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to send it to policy and strategy.
Sure, and you'll second it, Councillor Coughlin. All those in favor, signify aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Gotta get those hands up there so I can see them. Thank you. Okay, someone want to make a motion to accept the others for information?
Could I get clarification on policy 6.2 about the road salt? Question,
Did you want to
was that addressed?
zoom in and
Point two.
the salt?
Oh, there it is.
Road salt. We are using brine.
Are we? Okay,
Yes, we do. We have been trying brine. We got the new equipment for brine last year, so we have been doing brine this winter, and I think it's been going well.
But that's before a storm? You lay that before a storm, not during the storm?
okay.
Yeah, it's just different conditions.
Yeah.
Like you got to have all the tools at your disposal, and we don't use much sand, so it's salt and brine. Yeah, I think this is just accepted for information, but I did share with Jonathan, so it's appreciated.
Okay,
Maybe, could I recommend that perhaps some communication to Trudy on that, just that regard? Like because she asked a question here, and I'm just thinking maybe something that would just create some clarity.
sent a recommendation.
Yeah, sorry, I just had to reread it, Kevin, because I can't see the question, but I'm sure if Jonathan hasn't acknowledged it to her, I will ask Jonathan to acknowledge her suggestion.
Yeah,
I don't see a question in the.
so sorry, it was just that she was suggesting using the brine. But then we've already said that we're using that. So I just thought that
Let her know.
just seeing
Yeah.
that,
That seems reasonable.
we're already implementing some of these things that you're inquiring about.
No, I'll make sure we acknowledge it.
Councillor Carver?
So while we're on the topic of correspondence, it might be helpful also just to restate what our policy is about responding to correspondence.
Yeah, well, we don't automatically, we just acknowledge that it came in. So it's a little bit different to say like, well, it's been placed on the agenda for the meeting versus saying, well, Public Works actually is using Brian. So, we do normally require a motion. The only reason I'm saying we wouldn't in this case is because Trudy is somebody we'd probably just send a quick email response to her email, not anything formal. It's coming from Public Works. If council wanted an actual, like, thank you very much, we have listened and we're taking some action, you do need to do a motion. So thank you, Ben, because that helps people to know the system.
Yeah, and that's for me for clarification too, so thank you.
All right. Okay, does anybody want to make that motion to accept the other items for information? Councillor Bloom, thank you. Second by. Oh, Councillor McCarron, thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. I think the time change has caught up with us
Yeah.
today. All right, the staff report, 7.1. There were a lot of things coming due in March.
Yes, there will be even more on the next, certainly, we've kind of tried to group them a little bit. So
Mhm.
number of reports relating to Edgewater, trail rules, the art, Indigenous display, and some other items will be coming to the next meeting. So we'll have some opportunity to kind of discuss all of that in context. But yeah, obviously there's a few things that we managed to get onto this one and
Yes,
a couple
yes.
of others. The fishing dock survey I think is supposed to launch this week, so we'll have that before budget too. So if anybody has any questions about the staff report to council with the to-dos, happy to answer them.
No? Would someone like to make a motion? Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
We received the report, the staff report, I'm sorry, for information.
Seconder, Councillor Carver, thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. All right.
I feel quite badly that Joe isn't here for this next one. We spent 2 years deferring it, and Joe's kind of taken ownership of wanting to talk about it. And
Yeah.
now this is the meeting that it finally makes sense to,
Yeah.
because I will say that the appeals period for the development has ended. It ended last week, and so there were no appeals,
Okay.
which means that the development is cleared to move ahead, which means that, ultimately they may start construction as soon as this year if they wish to. So traffic impacts are coming. They're not that far away. Now, it's only a 12-unit development.
Okay.
Is that 12 units in less than number of buildings, or is it 12 individual units?
Like 12 dwelling units.
I think some are multi.
That's what I'm
No,
asking.
no,
No, they're all separate?
Like a dwelling unit means like one person's home.
Yeah.
So there are
Yes.
12 townhouses.
Yeah.
So there's some of them
they,
are connected.
Oh,
But
okay,
there's
fine,
12
fine,
units,
fine,
yeah.
fine.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I know it's just semantics, but there's 12, there will be 16 vehicles is the estimate.
Oh, no,
18 vehicles is the
I understand
estimated
that.
vehicles
I was
on
going
both.
backwards to get a better
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah.
Can I ask when Councilor Keeney is coming back? Or
He was expected to try to join remotely at this meeting and the next one, so he may make it on remotely on the next one. The one after that in April, he'll be here in person.
can we defer this until?
I mean, I certainly think we could. I'm not going to update it again because it has, I think, the update. And if anybody has questions about the update, I'm happy to answer them now, even if we defer it again.
Councillor
Yeah,
Poplar?
I'm curious, it's not clear to me where the exit is. Is that red arrow on the visual you've given us the exit onto Hedgerow?
Well, I'm actually, oh yes, so the exit on the hedgerow in the diagram on the second page there in the updated section, where there's a little red dot, that's a car in the exit from the property.
Yes.
So it's quite zoomed in because it's a, it's a document that everybody doesn't necessarily need to see all the details of the development, but I just wanted to zoom in on the laneway is around the corner, which is really what creates.
So the shorter distance is Hedgerow to Bond Street. to.
Yeah, if you're pulling out and you are required, if you were required to take a right turn
Yeah,
and turn down Hedgerow to Pond,
yeah.
that's certainly, quite distance.
The shortest.
The real challenge there is if you're headed towards Lunenburg at all, that direction, you're going to be going up Pond to School, and the intersection of Pond and School is hardly better than the intersection of Hedgerow and Maple.
Except
So-
doing a lot more traffic on the very narrow streets. Yeah. Okay.
So that's where
That's
the
the later.
scenario exit to Pleasant, has some advantage. I had originally said exit to Pond was the obvious thing. But this is where council could take the benefit of deferring and have time to
Sure,
think about
sure,
these two
sure.
options.
Sure. Okay.
So you enter from Pond Street
Well, that's the choice. The choice here is that
Okay.
Hedgerow would be one way,
to,
and it would need to be
Pleasant.
one way all the way from Pleasant to Pond because of the location of the laneway for the new
Right.
development. But whether it is one way exiting to Pond or one way exiting to Pleasant, there's some advantages to either option. Rather than just simply saying, I recommend exit to Pond, which has traditionally been my recommendation in this report. I think it's worth council considering the routing of traffic up Pond and on the School can be problematic.
But we're going to defer it anyway. So
Yeah, but you've got a month, so I don't want to come back and then have questions a month from now.
Council Carver?
Yes, I have two questions. I can't visualize where the actual exit from the property is.
Yeah, I think so. The diagram there's a house right on the corner. It really comes out to the corner. So if you look at the diagram on page 2 and see that analysis of sightlines and stopping distance, Maple Street and Hedgerow
Yes,
diagram.
I have that in front of me.
So that circle is meant to be a car in the exit lane.
It's
Of a
supposed to be a
laneway.
car in the exit lane.
So there's a laneway depicted. You can see where Hedgerow is labeled, right? And then the laneway goes in from Hedgerow into the property.
Where is, oh, the granite rock, I see that mark.
Yes.
Okay, the granite rock.
That might help.
Right.
And so the house across the street is almost to the property line. So when we did the sight line in red, it essentially
Right.
shows that house blocks your line of sight from the exit lane to Maple Street. So you won't see a vehicle or a vehicle won't see you until they reach a point that is less than 30 meters away, which is too close technically for stopping.
And is that the reason for the recommendation for the traffic to exit onto Pond Street?
No, this is the reason why I've changed from saying Hedgerow should only be one way from Pleasant to Maple, which was the previous recommendation when it was assumed that the laneway would probably line up with Maple Street. Since the laneway doesn't line up with Maple Street, the line of sight means that having Hedgerow be one way all the way from Pleasant to Pond is necessary. But the choice of which way, whether it's one way exiting to Pond or one way exiting to Pleasant, that's not really informed by the laneway location. That's the next question is, okay, so now that we've concluded for the laneway location that it has to be one way all the way from Pleasant to Pond or Pond to Pleasant, which way is going to be about the pattern of traffic of people leaving and where they're trying to get.
Council Wilson?
I move that we defer item 7.2 to the first weekend in April, first meeting in April.
Okay, second by Council Fulton. All those in favor, signify aye.
Oh, can
Opposed?
we have a little bit of discussion before we go to the vote?
Oh, I thought we had.
Well,
Okay,
we have-
okay.
Before we have conversation.
Go
Um,
ahead, Councilor Carver.
So if traffic is coming down Maple Street, would there be a stop sign there at the corner of Finch Road?
So with both of these scenarios, I guess the current stop sign at Hedgerow and Maple is only relevant if you're going. So right now, if you're coming in Hedgerow from Pleasant, there's a stop sign at Maple.
Right,
Relevant
on
if
Finch
you're
Road, I'm
going
talking
in that
about
direction.
traffic coming down Maple.
I don't think if you're going, if you choose scenario 1, exit to Pond, I don't think you would need to change the stop sign configuration because you'd still be stopping at Maple. Yeah, I think I would still do it that
Maple
way.
would have the right of way.
If you're doing it the other way, you would have to consider
Yeah.
Maple stopping and you wouldn't need a stop sign on Pond. So I could update this graphic slightly to show the stop sign moving to the
Yeah.
foot of Maple,
Okay.
yeah, which it would need to do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
I'll try to change that between now and the.
Okay, any more questions? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Going on to 7.3, Kinburn Street Actors Transportation Route.
So Jonathan reached out to some contractors and kind of looked at the ditches and where options were, property lines. Obviously, this represents, the cheapest, most immediate incremental improvement. That is, I think, what we were asked to look at. In the long term, even if these changes are made, it doesn't preclude potentially shifting the roadway such that you could actually get all the sidewalk on one side, like you're levelizing a sufficient amount of space to fit a roadway and a sidewalk. If you replace the bridge, it has the ability to support pedestrians traveling on both sides of it. Maybe at some point in the future, you can realign the roadway. But, what's being suggested right now is it's much simpler on the south side of the bridge, the east side of the bridge or west side of the bridge. It's much simpler to just switch which side you're improving based on the current positioning of the paved road surface, because paving the road surface is an order of magnitude more expensive than this project.
Right.
Now, I'm happy to answer any other questions. I just wanted to jump in with that because I figured that would be kind of a point of contention.
Yeah, maybe I'm not clear on it, but the proposition is that Kinburn Bridge would be reduced to one direction each way. I mean, alternate.
Yeah, I mean, the only way without replacing the bridge to accommodate pedestrian traffic is to do that. We did look at putting in a separate bridge next to it, like the one in the Aquatic Gardens Park, but the footings and everything actually really do complicate, and it would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Or when you replace the bridge, you have a good opportunity to add a pedestrian lane. In the immediate, if council wanted to improve safety at the bridge, the reduction to a single lane alternating traffic pattern, which does also calm traffic, is the only cost-effective option. And these are just provided for council's information if you want to refer to this to budget, right? This is to give you context. I think that's why Councilor Carver was asking, what could we do with relatively little money? Because we previously had some recommendations for what we could do if we had a lot of money, but we don't.
Well, it doesn't make a great deal of sense to me to reducing Kinburn Street to alternate traffic, the bridge, I mean.
Excuse me, did Councillor Colferman say it does make sense or
Doesn't.
does not make sense? Right.
Councillor Carver?
In my view, it makes a great deal of sense in terms of traffic calming and providing for a pedestrian walkway across the bridge. And it has been noted that the traffic on Kinburn has been increased in number and increased in speed, particularly during the construction on Edgewater. And I expect that people use it as and will continue to use Kinburn as a way to avoid the downtown core and just zip through. So I think that whatever we could do to make it safer for pedestrians makes a lot of sense. I admire the creativity that went into this, and I admit I do have some concerns about having the pedestrian traffic cross Kinburn to the other side, because I'm just thinking in terms of human behavior, people may not do that. But it's more traffic calming, or for vehicles anyway. I did wonder about what happens after Carroll Lane if people are walking along the north side of Kinburn and they get to Carroll Lane and then there's nothing there for them in terms of a walking surface. So I'm not quite sure where they're going to go after that. And then when they get to Claremont, the sidewalk, the existing sidewalk, is actually then on the other side, so they have to cross again.
Yeah.
And just thinking, I mean, if the crosswalk is marked there at the bridge with the the zebra markings. Is that what that, was that the plan, that the zebra markings?
Well, yeah, all sidewalks are,
Yeah,
sorry, all
yeah,
crosswalks is groups.
Yeah, I think it's certainly workable as as an interim to when there's more road work done. So I would move the council refer the Kinburn Street Active Transportation Safety Improvements Project to the 2026-27 annual budget process for further consideration.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Wilson, thank you. Any further discussion? No, I think I'm quite pleased to see this plan, I have to say. It's been a long time coming. It is a heavy traffic. I walk it every day, pretty much. But I know a lot of children use it for school route on their bikes and also walking. And then cut through the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission property to catch the crosswalk to Bayview School. So, and there are a lot of people who walk that street all hours, like night and day. And I walk it at night too, and it's there really is nowhere to walk, except on the road most of the year.
Especially with the snow piled up
Yeah.
on both sides, you're really, yeah.
But I grew up with it, so I'm comfortable, but I think for some people who are used to sidewalks and whatnot, it poses a challenge. So good to see this going. So ready for the questions? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Our next item is the Oakland Watershed Advisory.
We have one
Oh,
more
wait,
second.
sorry.
Tiny tots.
Tiny Tots. Sorry. I'm down one. Sorry. Tiny Tots Playground.
So I guess this is kind of pulling together two things. There had been a request for condition assessment of the playground and also direction to apply to provincial funding for some accessibility improvements. So we did those two things simultaneously. The contractor who came to do the scoping of the proposal also did the condition assessment, which helped inform that proposal. So they're both shared here. And then in the process of that, we've also identified an additional funding source, or where we've already put in the application to the province. It would be the same. It would make sense to use the same scope, but I just thought we had this meeting, so it would be a good opportunity to ask council to authorize putting that grant application in. And then as far as the kind of recommended condition stuff, it's quite minor, relatively speaking, and it gives us a window to say that most of the stuff in the playground is good for the next 5 to 10 years, which just probably kind of mirrors the timeline with the pool and other discussions about Jubilee Park. So that's relatively.
Any other?
So there are two motions, but I can take any questions or anything.
What's the time frame on these applications? The end limits, I guess.
Yeah, this grant is due by this Friday, I think, the end of this week.
March 15th.
It's open until how long?
How long does it take to tell us?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the RBC one. The CAP grant, usually they'll turn it around within the next 2 months, so we would know before the summer. But the RBC one might take longer, and I guess realistically, with the ability to use the playground, the improvements probably will happen in the fall.
Depends on today's protest at the legislature.
Yeah, this program didn't get cut, so at least for this year, it still exists. It would be something
there'll be
with
more
the New Accessibilities
competition.
Act if the province cuts this
Yeah.
program. I mean, it's the only support for physical accessibility improvements that they provide.
Councillor Booth?
And just a point of clarification, the funding for these is available, but it's not been applied for yet.
We've applied for the CAP funding, which is the $50,000 from Community Culture, Tourism, Heritage.
Yeah.
Just identified the RBC funding as something that could supplement that, because otherwise our share of that project is more than we would normally want it to be.
Okay.
Councillor Carver?
For the second motion that's been proposed, could the CAO provide a figure, a dollar figure for what the,
Yeah, I would put it in as per the above. So the project itself, if we're going to say it's all three of those costs, right? So the project itself is like 135,000, and the town portion is about 40,000. So that's what I put in the budget. I put, our budgeted portion is 40. We're projecting the 90 external. If we don't get both of those externals, we'll come back and talk for greenlighting a tender, because we might have to reduce the scope or, change our plans.
so the motion would refer to the town cost component of $39,316.
Yeah, well, it's the whole project cost, and then a budget with the external in the external column. And then when council approves it, you're only approving it if the external comes in. And if it doesn't, then we'll talk again. Just like all of it, that's how all the projects work.
I'm not sure if I've got my concern addressed yet, which is simply to include in the motion what amount is going to be going to the budget process, and that's really the $40,000.
I guess if you're going to include it in the motion, you're going to have to say the whole thing. So 1 second, I'll give you the exact. So the council referred the Jubilee Playground Accessibility Project with a cost of $130,000. The town contribution to which being $40,000. Like if you want it all in there, that's the it's ultimately it's the budget where you're locking that in. This is just a referral.
Well, so that was
Sir,
exactly the point I was going to, make, that just because it's referred to the budget doesn't mean to say it's approved.
Right.
It'll go through the process of
Exactly.
adjudication during the budget process.
Yes.
So what it says here really doesn't matter that much.
No, it just.
Yeah, I'll put the
sends it to
numbers in the budget
Yeah,
either
yeah.
way, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's, if you want the numbers in the motion, it'd be 130 and 40. It's the total from the town contribution.
Okay, and this doesn't, it talks about some equipment. Do we know what is specified?
Oh, they're in the attachments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So if you go down.
Oh, okay.
So the actual project doesn't include any completely new equipment. It includes accessibility improvements to some of the existing equipment and repairs / accessibility improvements to the sand area. And includes some accessibility improvements to the barriers and the matting and the walkways. And when we really looked into it, like the replacing of equipment and all of the existing equipment is in, passable condition at least. The replacing equipment is outside of the scope of these programs. It's very expensive. So if we might want to pick whether it's a splash pad or a new piece of equipment down the road, and then target recreation facility funding through Community Sculpture, Tourism, and Heritage, the funding that Mahone Bay United is applying for this year in respect to the irrigation system that we talked about. That's the sort of funding we might go at in a future year if we did want to add an actual piece of equipment. But yeah, this doesn't add any. It changes the swings, so it adds some accessible swings. It makes that playground structure more accessible, which was a request from the public last year. But it doesn't actually full on include new equipment.
Okay. So like the wheelchair accessible trail, that definitely won't be paved. It'll be.
Yeah, crushed dust, but it's incremental, so it could become paved at a later time.
Okay. Councillor Carver?
Thank you. I hope I'm not complexifying the whole question here. So this is a playground, a play area that we're talking about in Jubilee Park. And earlier in the meeting, we have referred the discussion of Jubilee Park to the Planning Advisory Committee to be looking at the whole picture. So this is one section that we're talking about, is a Jubilee Park. And it looks, I'm not clear on what actually changes are that might happen with this $130,000. But what I'm getting to is the need for involving young families, any families, community members in the planning and the discussion and how we spend the money. So far we have consultant reports, but I don't see that we've had consultation yet with the community about how to spend that 130,000.
No, CAO.
So essentially, I mean, all this is detailed in there. There's a list of accessible concrete pad for shelter, wheelchair accessible trail, 3 accessible plastic ramps, accessible wood carpet, sand play area, that list of stuff. It's essentially like to meet the minimum, not even entirely, but debatably in good weather conditions, because Croucher Dust doesn't meet the minimum conditions anymore, except in the optimal situation. Generally speaking, this brings us the minimum standard for accessibility, and being funded substantially to the tune of 2/3 of the cost through accessible programs. It really, anything additional through conservation would be an addition to this. Like, this represents the equivalent of the pool liner that Councillor Paul Freeman referenced earlier, buying us some time then in compliance with legislation and some very minimum standards to engage in a broader consultative process. So I would suggest the consultative process happen in parallel with trying to secure some baseline legislatively required improvements now, and then we look at the bigger picture. We actually have a bigger picture around the stormwater management and the pond, which has been funded, and the bigger picture around the pool. Now we're to planning advisory, have a discussion about expanding the Jubilee Park area to include the old school lab. So I think a lot of these things will have to move in parallel. But these funding programs exist now. In fact, the cap we've already applied to. So hopefully this just attracts the attention of young families to participate in that larger Jubilee Park consultative process. But I don't think there's much opportunity to add to this without just adding to the town cost.
Any other questions, discussion? Oh, Councillor Wilson.
I'd like to move the council direct staff to apply to the IBC Barrier Buster Grant Program for $40,000 funding toward the Jubilee Park Playground Accessibility Project.
Is there a seconder? Councillor McCarron, thank you. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion, are you not?
I'm good.
Okay, Councillor Faulkner, did you go?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The motion is carried.
And I also move that council refer the Jubilee Park Playground Accessibility Project to the 26-27 budget process.
Second by Councillor Faulkner, thank you. All those in favor signify aye.
On
Oh, you have a
discussion.
question?
I'm on
Okay,
discussion.
okay, Councillor Carver.
So we did have the discussion earlier about including actual budget figures. That included the total of $130,000.
Yes.
And of which the 40,000 would be the contribution of the town. So I'm not going to support this unless it has those figures in it. Well, I'm asking if the mover and seconder would include those figures. And I'm asking that because if you look through old minutes and you see a motion like that, what does it mean? I mean, it might happen that those motions stand beside each other in minutes. And because I have reviewed many minutes, paper and digital, it's very confusing if there's nothing there that states what actually was being referenced in the motion.
I'm happy to change the put the numbers in if it makes Councilor Carver happy. That's fine with me.
Seconder, are you
Sure.
sure? Okay. Do you have that, clerk? Those figures? Okay. Any further discussion? Being none, I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. So then our staff reports, we'll move on to council items. This is me with the committee report. Thought I had that on a separate paper, but I can read it off the computer if it's. Pardon?
Yeah.
No, I can do it with the, I just have to make the print a little larger for me. There, okay. All right, so these are new appointments to count for just councillors. These are not public. The public additions that we'll be calling for soon. So, I've worked with staff on putting this together and chatted with a few people, and I did talk to our new counselors. So, we will be redoing, I think next December will be not a total change in council appointments and committees, but possibilities of changes. So can I do this all in one motion?
Yeah, I
Or
think so.
each one separate?
I think so.
Each-
I mean, like, we've kind of gone back and
It's
forth
a
over the
slate.
years, like doing them. The only reason to break them up is because there might be independent discussion or opposition to them. But if everyone agrees to all of them procedurally, it's certainly quicker to do
Yeah.
them all as one motion.
We can take them as a slate, right?
Yeah, I was just considering if I have to send them places. so I don't
Yes,
really-
there is one,
Yeah.
there is a spelling error there, a tat instead of that, I think, in one of them. So I will read Councillor Carver.
I was gonna make the motion.
Oh,
Oh, do you wanna read,
Yes.
do you wanna read the whole thing first?
no, you can make the motion.
Do I have to read the whole thing?
You,
Just do the slate.
the slate.
So I move that, council approve the slate of, council appointments, committees, as circulated, for March 10th, 2026. Is that? We need it.
Okay. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Boone, seconds the motion. Any discussion? No, okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Councillor Puffman,
No, it was just a question, that's all. This is all additive. For example, I'm on the Heritage Advisory. Am I still on the Heritage
Yeah.
Advisory? Oh,
yes.
There's a point there, it says stick them up.
yeah.
But I'm with you.
Councillor Boone,
And just a point of clarification, looking at the calendar, when does the communications committee meet?
it's usually the second or third
It's been the third
Tuesday?
been the
Thursday.
third Thursday at 3 p.m. So that presumably is going to continue. It follows directly on asset management, but that hasn't proven inconvenient to this point. It's not posted on the calendar because it is not a public meeting. It's an internal committee. So it's not open to the public. That's why it's not on the calendar. But if you're on it now, we could ask Claire Louise to send calendar invites ahead so that you've got them.
That'd be great.
Councillor
Secondary question. So there isn't an appointed chair for the Heritage Advisory Committee because it was former councillor.
Oh, right.
So what's the process for establishing chair? Is it the committee determines the chair?
The council has often said who is chair. If not, the committee can. So I guess it's down to is council appointing a chair. If not, the committee can appoint a chair.
Right. What we did was you were the vice chair, correct?
Correct.
And okay. Anyway, we just moved you up in the position. But that is also, we could, if you don't want that,
I don't mind particularly. It's just whether someone else wants a run at it, so to speak.
okay.
Been
Well,
running at it for a while.
We wanted to leave our new counselors some time to,
Okay, just leave it as it.
To-
be co-chair.
Yeah.
we just wanted to give them time to, get some experience
Fair enough.
before we,
Okay.
and we felt with the month, the changes coming in December, it would, if they're not ready to move in, by then they'll be ready to move in, but right now, McCarran is vice chair of police advisory, but when she starts to feel comfortable that she wants to chair that committee, then she can,
Fair enough, okay,
take that over and I'll take the vice chair,
okay,
right? So
Yeah,
that's
that's
sort of what
Yeah.
we were doing,
okay.
right? Councillor Carver?
Just a comment that the communications group is not a committee, as the CAO mentioned a few minutes ago. It's sometimes called the Communications Working Group, and I think that's how it's listed in the list of committees in the, so just to distinguish it from advisory committees which have, or citizen committees. So it really should be.
It's not a
communications working
standard.
group. It's an internal
Yeah.
working group. I had another question too, which is about Councillor McCarran's appointment. You're not the provincial appointment to the Police Advisory Board at this time.
No.
It was the library board,
Yeah,
I think, that I should have asked a question for.
she
about
has
rotating.
agreed to stay in that position.
Yeah.
And is that permitted?
We thought,
Oh.
when I
It
asked,
has been in the past, but I have no idea what the current rules are.
Councillor Wilson
We'll
sat
find
as
out.
a,
So. That's what I'm gonna ask.
The library committee? No, no.
Councillor Wilson was one, at one
Mhm,
point
okay,
for
yeah.
council, and then we took it and just asked someone from the public before, and we did
Yeah,
Gail
that's right.
Trice box, and
And
then,
I think it's that it doesn't have to be a council member, but isn't precluded from being a council member, but
Yeah.
we'll double check.
There are many council members on that. Like, I'd say
Mhm.
most of that library.
Okay, well then, obviously,
Are-
then they can hold those
Yeah.
positions
Yeah.
as well, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank
any other questions? No, okay, thank you. My agenda here, up here now, so Councillor Carver, you're in for Councillor Feen's motion that he's
Yes,
going
yes.
to do?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So in Councillor Feeney's absence and having seconded the motion to get the, or supporting this, I move that council direct staff to craft a letter under the mayor's signature to Mayor McLean Lyle of Modal, requesting a meeting to identify opportunities to collaborate in determining optimized fire service design based on the new provincial legislation.
Which isn't quite legislation, they were debating it last night.
Mhm.
So in second reading, so it's not yet legislation, but to be legislation, yes.
Second that motion.
Second by Councillor Wilson, thank you. Any discussion? Lots of noise around this legislation going through.
Yeah, I guess I'll just characterize that I think the town, and we've talked about this before, is largely in compliance, and this actually represents an opportunity to work more closely with MODL, which could be to our benefit. I did have a brief chat with their CAO, and so he knows that this is coming and was encouraging about it, so.
Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Committee reports, Lunenburg County Accessibility Advisory meeting minutes of January 7th.
It's a long time ago. We've had.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what happened. We must have missed a month, so it's nothing.
I can comment about
Yes.
that. So we're trying to do better at having the external committees, but most of them do insist on approving their minutes before sending them as opposed to draft. So
I see,
I
okay.
guess these minutes are now because we just had a meeting that
Okay.
approved them. Yeah.
They're approved.
Yeah. that's
Okay.
what-
Okay.
Okay, great. And then there's the climate and environment minutes and Lunenburg Senior Safety
And
and
there are some motions in climate and
Okay.
environment
climate change.
in the 104-page long minutes because it was requested that we attach the documents that are referred to in the motions
Oh, boy.
so that you would know what the motions were about.
Okay,
So,
Councilor Carver?
Yeah, so as chair of that committee, I'll just go through the motions from the meeting earlier this month. So the first motion is that council make the position of the climate and energy program manager, make that permanent. So the motion is to that council approve making the climate and energy program manager position permanent.
And could I add, Penny, I think it was understood that council may wish to subject this to the budget conversation.
Ah.
So rather than putting a motion that would kind of require council to act on it now in isolation, you might think it appropriate to move that this question be referred to the budget process. I know it's a little tricky. The committee wants it made this way, but at the same time, I think it would be a difficult question. Another member of council might then vote to defer, because we could do a motion to defer, right? To defer the actual motion to make the position permanent. So if you'd rather make that motion and let another member of council defer that till after the budget process and then discuss it during, that's another option, just procedurally.
So how would that work? I mean, if it's being referred to budget discussions, is that the timing when the decision about the position would be made? During the budget discussion?
Well, yeah, if you made a motion to refer to budget, the decision to make the climate position permanent, then there would be an expectation that in the course of the budget meetings, that would be determined. If you make the motion as it stands and then somebody moves to defer, I would suggest that they defer it to the first regular meeting after the budget, when we have the conversations through the budget, but the actual locking in, like once the amount of money is there, then you could say, let's have that discussion in isolation once the amount of money is there. But I guess my concern is council's not seeing anything about money in this motion, which may make it hard to action at this time. But I know the committee wanted to make it this way.
Yes,
Okay.
very clearly, without a doubt. And
But if it goes like
I'm-
this,
I'm just processing the rationale that I've just heard from the CAO, but I also want to point out before I make my decision that this position has brought in roughly 4 times the amount of money that we've paid in salary for the position in terms of grants and what we've been able to use to improve the community and address climate issues. And by all accounts, that's a huge ratio in terms of the value of that position. So having heard the idea that step 1 would be approving budget for this position for the 26-27 year, at least secures that funding for this year, and then to have the permanency of the position discussed following that budget process. So did I get it right?
Well, but it's your choice. You want to either make the motion as it stands, or make the motion to refer this to the
Yeah,
budget process.
I'll do that. So I would move that council refer to the budget process I'll start by saying that this position contract ends in October this year. So this would be to extend that for another year, one more year, because we've already.
So if you're just making a motion that we refer the question of making the position permanent to the budget
Okay.
the draft budget will reflect that for the
Okay.
year, but council will determine whether that's in or out, and the final
Okay.
version of the budget will either have till October or it'll have the whole year. Yeah.
So now I move that council refer the funding for the climate and energy program manager position to the budget process, 26-27 budget process.
is there a second?
Okay.
Councillor Polkerman seconds that motion.
There's a lot of work.
Yes. Any discussion?
And just for the new members, I'll mention that, an aspect of the budget process obviously will always concern staff remuneration and any new positions or changes in positions. And there is an aspect of closed session discussion there. So if you watch back, and Joe always says, oh, for 16 hours a year, you can go back and watch. So I don't know if either of you have done that with last year's budget process, but if you're doing it, you won't see a significant part where council discusses staff remuneration and positions, because that is something that takes place in closed session.
Okay, no questions? I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify aye. Aye, opposed nay. The motion is carried. Councillor
Thank
Farber.
you for your patience with that. So the next motion, recommendation coming from the Climate and Environment Committee is that council include the 2026-27 Climate and Environment Work Plan and budget as attached in the town's 26-27 annual budget. Or refer it to budget.
Is there a seconder?
The wording is refer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's another thing where the committee is saying include,
Right.
but reasonably you can refer, and everyone here knows that the
Yeah.
committee is saying do it. It's not just a neutral thing, but yeah, I think refer is appropriate.
Okay,
And then if it gets seconded, I do want to make a comment, but
Okay.
don't get us in something that's.
Was there a seconder?
was there?
I thought Brian second. No, I'll
No.
second.
No, you'll second it? Okay.
Okay, so now I just wanted to comment that this document is written, the work plan is written as if the coordinator position ends in October. And so part of the conversation when you get to budget can be, if you see all the arrows for initiatives that just end or wouldn't start, that's kind of where we're able to say
Okay.
we cut things off if the position were to end. And it's sort of designed to give everybody a sense of what would happen or wouldn't happen or would be discontinued if we didn't have the position. So
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Oh, Council Wilson?
I'm just a little bit taken aback by the lack of detail in some of these items. It's just, you know, very broad. Local leadership for climate adaptation, $1 million. I mean, I don't know what that means.
Well, so I mean, most of these things have come to council previously, so there are staff reports, but they may not be obvious what they are. So if you have any questions, I can forward the specific materials between now and the budget. That's no problem. The committee actually asked for the inclusion of the $1 million local leadership for climate adaptation. That wasn't in Lauren's draft report because that report is going to your next meeting. So you haven't seen that, but what that is, I'll tell you, is a continuation of the stormwater detention work that's been going on above Clearway in Maine. So working with the FAFCO property and Fathom and the town contracted Fathom. And so their report will be coming to your next meeting. So essentially all that work was to tee up a potential project for application for external funding. So the whole breakdown from Fathom of, you know, if we're going after this money, to do that project, it'll be at your next meeting and then before budget. So the committee, because they've had informal discussions about this work, asked that Lauren refer to the $1 million in this document, which we hadn't done because it actually hasn't gone to council. So that's why the $1 million may come as a surprise, Kelly. But if you're wondering about like what was the GCCC or LLCA or CRPP, I can forward you the specific reports and things. It just there's a lot of acronyms in the climate and environment world, probably even more than the rest of government right now. There's literally an LCCA program and an LLCA program that Lauren is getting funding from.
Okay, Council Boone.
Looking at this document, and for the first time, I don't know, on Saturday, I think I saw it. It's 100 and some odd pages, and I'm wondering, is there a way? And I'm even looking at even things like summaries and things like that, but they just feel very generalized, and they're just hard to really dissect the core elements of what this is. And I'm wondering if it's just possible to have something that gives a highlight of, you know, 5 or 6 of the key points that have either been agreed on or what this document entails. Just to, it's not that I don't, you know, I don't know. I think in some ways it can be just given all the information that we have, it can be quite a lot of time to read documents that
Mhm.
that you can't always absorb all the
Mhm.
content. And when you're trying to absorb it all, you don't always get to the details of the specifics that need to be addressed. That's my,
And you guys are coming in even midstream, like
Yeah.
there's a lot to take
Yeah.
on. So I see this maybe as, when the rest of the counselors came on, they had a little bit more of an orientation. They had a few more sessions. They had a session with Lauren where she went down through some of the ongoing initiatives. So I made a note, maybe that's something we could add between now and the budget as kind of an orientation. If other members are interested, they could come out. The mayor has asked that we do something like that on the electric utility with Ray Robinson from area. So, it could be to benefit you two, but also others. So if that might be a relevant way to explore the climate portfolio, we're happy to put something together. Eric will work on when your availability might be, but between now and the 10th of April when the budget starts, we already were asked to schedule one session for the electric stuff. So maybe doing something on this could be helpful. I kind of go back and forth between you two because if that's a shared sentiment, otherwise you could just come in and meet with me at some point and I could go down this list with you. But yeah, I think it's better to have the back and forth of an actual discussion in terms of what you're getting at.
so my answer to that, and that's great. But is there a high level list here? That's what I'm trying to look through and navigate as I go. Is there something here's
So this isn't one document, this is a package. The work plan is actually only 2 pages.
right?
It is a high level document, it may be too high level. The rest of the document here is the urban forest management plan, which is being provided as a draft. It's quite an early draft, pre-public consultation, because the committee wanted council to see the work that had been done to this point. But that's subject to a different motion that we haven't made yet about public engagement on the urban forest management plan draft.
Okay.
So as far as the summary, that work plan is a summary. As far as what it's a summary of, I guess that's my point, that we didn't produce another document that brings all this together. Each of these has individual staff reports. And so I could just send, to Councillor Wilson's point, I could just go back and send a bunch of staff reports. But to your point, Kevin, that might be less helpful than having a session where kind of get the question and answer. So
Yeah.
that was the only option I could think of. There isn't another document that just is slightly more nuanced, but
Do
not
an
too much
AI?
longer.
An AI summary, like those,
This is only a 2-page document.
no, but I think the forest, I think you're probably talking more about the forest. Urban forest one.
Your worship, I think, just want to follow up on what Councillor Boone is trying to get to, and I'm just going through this quickly again, and there's a section on the basic steps of tree planting. 1, dig a hole. Well, I'm not sure that that's something that council actually needs
Right.
as part of the package.
So this is all about the urban forest management plan, but we're still in discussion on the motion on the work plan. And I've been trying not to answer the questions on the urban forest management plan. If that's what the questions are, maybe we should get to that motion.
I thought we'd done the work plan. We haven't finished that.
I believe we're in discussion on the motion, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. So,
No, there hasn't been a seconder.
yeah, there was Catherine.
Catherine did.
Yeah.
And excuse my naivety on this, but I'm just trying to absorb this.
Can I go back to what the motion actually is?
It is digital engagement, which may include, no, wait, sorry, that's not it. It
No,
is
the
the
mo-
one before that. Is the council recommend the work plan and budget.
Yeah, it actually ended up being the council refer the 2026-27 work plan and budget to the town's 2026-27 annual budget. Yeah, that's the motion.
So it was seconded by Karen.
Okay, point of clarification here. Following that, there are a whole pile of 4 yellow highlighted areas called engagement tools. They're not motions, sure.
It's a different
No,
document.
That's a different document. this motion is what we're talking about right
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, about sending it to the budget.
Yeah, fine,
Okay.
fine.
So are we ready to vote on that? And so that we can move on? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The
Yeah.
motion,
And I did make that note
Yeah.
for training. So
Okay.
we'll follow up about
Yes,
an
yes.
opportunity to get more
Yeah,
information,
yeah.
which can be available, Kelly, if you want to ask questions, anybody can come to that meeting.
now,
Penny's much more in the loop as the only counselor who's been on the Climate and Environment Committee since the resignation of Councillor Twano, so that has led to, only one councillor has the extra 2 hours every month.
And I'm going to my first meeting for that council tomorrow.
Oh, well then you've already got a great opportunity to get up to speed. Yeah.
Yes.
So that long document that you have seen,
Yes.
the 100-page document, is the draft, very early version of the urban forest management plan, which has been under discussion for many, many years about actually developing a plan and having it in place, because trees are such an important part of our community, for social, aesthetic, environmental, all sorts of very functional reasons. And the committee has recommended the following. And I'm going to move that council approve. Well, before I make the motion, I also want to say this is a very early form of the urban forest management plan. It's very draft, and it will evolve over the public engagement process. So this motion is going to be about the public engagement plan, not so much the document itself, but just recognize, please, that the document is very much draft. So I move that council approve the draft public engagement plan on the urban forest management plan.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor.
And so
Yeah.
now for the clarity, that is pages 6 through 10 of the huge document. And to Councillor Paul Freeman's previous question, the highlighted parts there just represent the public engagement tools that are to be included in the plan. So it's just highlighted, they're not motions. It's just highlighting that there would be, an in-person session with roundtable discussion. There would be engagement through the Get On Board platform that we have this year. There would, to ensure accessibility for people, there would also be a paper version of the online survey. The Community Environment Committee would be involved, obviously, in these discussions, and there'd be information posted on Facebook, newsletter, website, paper survey. It's a very standard public engagement plan, I think, on a draft document, but the committee did add the in-person roundtable discussion because they felt that that was a relevant consideration. So the draft document was included because the committee specifically wanted council to see the work that had been done to date. Normally, we wouldn't put it in the package.
So being asked to approve a public engagement plan, not the draft of the urban forest.
Yeah, and normally you wouldn't have had that huge document in your package, but the committee specifically moved that they include it for your information.
And the draft engagement plan is dependent upon the appointment of the employee.
No, this is supposed to be wrapped by October.
Okay.
It'll be finished.
Okay, fair enough.
Councillor Carver.
Having experienced a similar confusion as Councillor Pulverman just referenced, I'm wondering if in the draft public engagement plans, the highlighting could use a different color.
Yeah, I think if they're going in council packages, maybe just where we've got you guys looking for the yellow. Yeah, I can make it.
Good
The
recommendation.
yellow triggers emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a motion from Councillor Carver and second by McCarron. Okay. Ready for the question? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. And they will be, the steps will be highlighted in a different color.
Yeah, I made a little note. Hopefully, catch that.
I know, I was like.
And then, Kelly, do feel free to comment on the actual document, and if basic steps to tree planting, including digging a hole and putting a tree in it, seems too basic, we can always consider that as feedback.
I am used to a lot of motions coming from the climate and environment committee, but this was like, oh, that was all.
As budget approaches,
Yeah.
this is the stuff that they've
Yeah.
been, working on.
Good, okay, so we will move on to the next item, which is Lunenburg County Safety Program. Not much more to report except the this, we're still waiting to hear from the minister. And some of you may know, who went to Municipal Joint Services or tuned into that, the premier popped into our meeting. He was a surprise visitor. I took the time to give my elevator speech for increased funding for the Lunenburg County Senior Safety. We are trying to support a second coordinator or support to the coordinator, because the workload is just become to the point that we're triaging the work of the coordinator, which isn't a good sign because the needs are so high for seniors and the work that she is doing. So, and she covers a large territory. A lot of larger units have a central town, like Kentville has their own, and then the county has a second one, but they work together under the same, office, and that's what we're looking for. Is the needs alone in Bridgewater, and then the rest of the county would be enough to have a second coordinator. So that's one of our goals. He said he would take it back to the minister. We haven't heard yet. So, we are trying hard because we realize the important work that they do, work that otherwise should be supported by government, and it's being done by this pretty awesome committee of people who support this, which are members of council and people from the public and police services here in Lunenburg County. So we've got a very dynamic group. Okay, and the next report is the Planning and Advisory Committee.
Watershed actually has a
Oh, Watershed does? Oh,
fairly unusual that they have a recommendation, but there is
yes.
one.
Okay, and both of them are Councillor Wilson, so do you have anything to add to your committee report, Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, actually, there's a motion there, so I'll get to that. Thank you. Some councilors may know that a month and a half ago, a company called Freeman Lumber came to us to make a proposal about managing our privately owned land on the Halifax side of Vulcan Lake, whatever direction it is, north. And we had a fairly extensive tour. And what they were recommending, I think, largely made sense. So at the last meeting, we had we should say, a fulsome discussion of what we should do next. And the committee agreed that rather than go full scale into an agreement with Freeman, it would be wise of us to join the Western Woodlot Co-op, which is a non-profit independent group that will come in and for a fee of about $2,500, assess the existing woodlot that we own and recommend next steps, which could then be used by Freeman as a ongoing management plan. So with that background, I would move as per the minutes, that council directs staff to join the Western Woodlot Co-op and develop a forestry management plan for the Oakland Lake waterfront watershed with the assistance of the Western Woodlot Co-op at an approximate cost of $2,500.
Seconded by Councillor Copeland. May I ask you a question?
Sure.
How is this different from West 4, or is this
I don't know who West 4 is.
West 4 was a group of Western Nova Scotia woodlot owners that had that belonged to a group, and they did a lot of things on common land.
I honestly don't know. I just know that
It was the sustainability and the cutting on.
Yeah, I think the difference may be Western Woodlot Co-op is maybe.
I can comment on it. Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
West 4 manages Crown land,
Yes,
and the Western Woodlot Co-op is for woodlot landowners. Yeah,
private lot of, okay,
And they've done a lot of
Big
work
difference in
on
that.
watersheds.
okay. Just needed that clarification. Councillor.
It's
Faulkner?
probably just worth mentioning that should we proceed with this, there is a revenue potential from it as well. So it's money well spent.
Mhm. So they were representing Freeman's Lumber in this co-op or?
No.
No,
They're separate, totally separate.
okay, so, but
Yeah, our
Marcus
perspective
must
was
belong
that-
to both organizations.
Our perspective was that a lot of the organizations that would contact someone like Freeman's to manage
Yes.
do so by first developing a management plan.
Okay,
And the Woodlot Co-op, like what they kind of got together and realized is that one of the best services for their members would be supporting the development of management plans that they could then take to companies like Freeman's to actually engage and do the work.
mhm,
So that's where when you join, there's this option, and
Okay.
it's definitely a discounted option to develop a management plan, and that's supposed to help you in your interaction with companies like Freeman. So that's where we've said, well, let's take advantage of this opportunity,
Okay.
and it'll help us to work with Freeman's or any other lumber companies.
okay. I have a better understanding. Same characters, just different, different woodland. Okay, Councillor Boone, I can't see your plate, so I.
Is there just an opportunity between the two of you, Councillor Wilson and Councillor Belfry-Man, to just get a bit of background on the committee that you're on? I'm just curious, kind of how it works with the woodlot when you talk about revenue potential, for example, like those types of things. And we don't need to discuss it here.
Oh, well, I'm happy to talk to you anytime.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I guess we should make people aware when, there's a meeting happening, council members who aren't on the committee are obviously also welcome to come out. So that's another
Yeah.
opportunity. You just missed it, but in the future, if
Yeah.
you're interested, you don't have to be on the committee to come out and get acquainted.
Okay, are we ready for the questions? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Interesting work there going on. All right. Moving along. The new business.
Nope.
Nobody
PAC.
signed up for new.
Now we do PAC.
Oh, PAC, sorry. PAC, I checked it off already. Councillor Wilson, again,
Can't get rid of me that easily.
I know.
Yes, we did have some discussions, last week, I guess it was, about the, old school lab property, so-called. And in the context of a broader recreation plan, but basically at the end of the day, we agreed that there really isn't any reasonable opportunity on that property for development of housing that would make economic sense, or even from an accessibility point of view, et cetera, et cetera. So what the committee recommends is that council initiate the process to rezone the entirety of the old school lab property to the Parks and Open Space Zone.
Okay.
I'll second.
You'll second that, Councillor Carver,
And
thank
just for
you.
quick clarity,
Yeah.
because you may want to discuss, but the reason this is entirety, of course, just so you know, is the property has two zones currently. The area of the field was rezoned previously to Parks and Open Space, but the remainder from the field back to the Beta Bay Trail was left as residential, so that's where this motion.
Mhm. To Councillor McCarron.
Yeah, I have a question. Wasn't there a possibility of zoning it industrial rather than, which would leave open more possibilities?
I can speak to that point.
Yeah,
The question was about institutional.
institutional.
Yeah, industrial scare people a little bit. And the idea was that we might in the future, and this is more of a facilities management thing, if this zone change occurs, we might be in a position to consider, again, long-term, the field could potentially shift somewhat because there's about an acre of flat land. It is very difficult to access with vehicles behind the field. And if there was an opportunity then to take some of the land at the other end of the field beside the Mahone Bay Center, there was a discussion that Mahone Bay United would see some future potential to build things on it that would technically require the institutional zone versus the Parks and Open Spaces zone because of a prohibition on structures. And so we got into the weeds a little bit and then decided to come back to that. it would be a subsequent rezoning anyway. That portion of the property is already zoned parks and open space anyway, so this could go ahead first, and that would set the table for that conversation. But yes, there was a conversation, PAC, and I think ongoing with Mahoma United about that.
Yes, yeah, and to my mind, it just leaves more options open, but
Mm.
it would mean rezoning twice then?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So we probably were better to do this, see if the community supports this, because this is the back end anyway. So get that zone and then break off a piece to zone institutional, if that makes sense. But
You know, we have to remember, this is just the first step in a long convoluted process.
But it's sort of saying no residential. We don't see the potential for residential as
That's the most important piece.
Any other discussion or questions? No? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried.
And I should have said while we were in discussion, but just for the new people, initiate the process. Obviously, there's a number of steps here. So this will have the planners develop an information package for the public and then schedule a public information meeting in order to present that. And they'll bring any feedback from that meeting and their own analysis to the planning advisory committee. So PAC needed to send this up to you to get the planners to carry out a PIM, to bring it back to them. The process then leads to them actually needing to cement that upon receipt of public feedback if they feel to recommend the council to conclude the process, and it actually then does the rezone with the amendment. So there are steps to follow, so there will be a public information meeting. That's the next step.
Mhm. And your next one?
Yes, as part of the discussion, it was agreed that we should make a formal attempt to connect the two pieces of public land, the sort of Jubilee woodlands behind the ball field to the piece behind the soccer pitch. So with that, we moved the council approach Nova Scotia Power Inc. to formalize trail connections across the power and transmission corridor. So if you haven't been back there, there's a cut right through that has their power lines. There's a little brook that runs down through there most of the time. And there's a very dangerous bridge that I've continued to fall off. And all of that needs to be made safe, if not accessible, at least safe, just as a first step. And the first step of that is to get permission from NSP to actually use it.
And there's some synergy with the fact that Nova Scotia Power is also doing some work in the transmission corridor in the next 2 years. So they may be in a position to, facilitate this effort if they're willing.
Councillor Carver?
Just out of curiosity, does Nova Scotia Power own that property, or do they lease it from us?
No, they own it. Yeah, so
They-
we'd have to have
they own it.
easements across it for the two
I
trails.
see, we have, okay.
I'm sorry, but I don't know if I get a second.
Oh, sorry.
No. Councillor Pulverman? You two have been.
No, that's my fault.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion? No? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried, and you have one more?
Yes, and finally, we had a long look at the proposed local improvement bylaw, which, if you don't know, is a proposal to create a cost sharing arrangement so that if we do an extension of services, water in particular, the water and sewage and I guess electricity, that there is a way to share that cost with the people that benefit the most, in particular developers of larger properties, that kind of thing. So that has already been passed. But we needed to get a first reading, so council recommends, or we recommended to council to give first reading to the draft local improvement bylaw, which was amended to give affected property owners the opportunity to appeal to council as the process goes on. So, yeah. Second, everybody.
waiting for a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, second by.
Can I
Council-
request that we change the motion to as amended, because I need to amend it again, because I didn't fix the definition of local improvement that still refers to sidewalks. And we've discussed explicitly that it wasn't going to. So the suggested amendment for anybody that's listening is that Councillor Wilson was quite correct. We were only to define local improvement as utility extensions. And so there's a category in here in addition to water, wastewater, stormwater, and electrical, which is the sidewalks and transportation facilities, and that was supposed to be removed. So if it's okay with the mover and seconder, we were going to, and I will amend this before the first reading, take out the references to the applicability of this bylaw to sidewalks.
And where
active
is that?
transportation improvements. It is in 3D, D2,
two,
yeah,
yeah.
3D2.
3D2.
Yeah.
Okay, right there.
So it could, Kelly, if you wanted to note, first reading as amended, section 3D2, that's the thing I'm trying to fix.
It'll be excised.
Okay,
So yes, I'm happy to accept that.
Okay,
Mhm.
yep, and you're accepted to, okay, Council Carver, any discussion? We've been discussing this some time, it's come up many times. It'll be interesting to see how the public feels, because we have some areas here in town that we see possibility of connecting the potential developments, and but taking it further and including other people who haven't necessarily asked for this service, but will have to pay for this service. And that's where it gets sticky, right? So someone may be happy with their well and septic and not want to hook up, and whether they do or not, they'll be paying for it if this goes through, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we currently have local improvement charges which work the same way.
Yes.
So ultimately, yeah, you don't necessarily need to directly benefit to end up having a charge if it is
Right.
improving the resale value of your property
Right.
and that type of benefit to you. I guess you're
And
right
there'd
to
be
note
that
that we did
payback.
actually take this bylaw, a much expanded version, to public consultation about 5 years ago, I think.
Yes,
Give or take. And then this represents a much pared down version without active transportation, without the ability to be initiated by residents. This is utility expansion by council direction. The mechanism is to essentially spread the cost to properties that will benefit from the expansion. As the mayor
right,
said.
and there'd be a payback program on your tax bill. For
Yes,
those
yeah.
who want to do it over a period of time. Or they can pay all at once, it's up to them. So there may be some people who are not in favor of this, and there are other ways of doing it, is just putting it in as far as it goes, to the development that is in question, and then.
And the
Tack it
bylaw
on
simply
later.
allows the council to initiate a local improvement, which then, and this was part of the specific feedback from planning advisory, would trigger notice to affected residents who would have the opportunity to appeal the local improvement to council. So that is in the draft. That addition of language to have the opportunity to appeal the local improvement to council actually is something that is not in other municipal local improvement bylaws that we reviewed, but the committee felt it was a good addition to ensure that no one was unaware of a local improvement that was coming their way, that they just got a bill. So that's why that's in there.
Mhm. Any questions? Oh, more questions for at PAC. No? Okay. We've had the motion made and second. This is for first reading. All right, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed? One. Okay, motion is carried. So we will have consultation next. Is there a next step?
There's a hearing, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, so we'll talk between us about the scheduling of the hearing, because we
Okay.
do have a recommendation, but don't need to bring it up right in a second.
All right, and I think that, do you have, that was the last motion, Counselor? Yes, for your report. Okay, so does someone want to make I guess we did speak to all of these, didn't we? So do we need a motion
Receive
to
and
accept
file senior
receive and
safety.
file?
It's-
Yeah, and the accessibility
yes,
committee. Okay, would someone like to move that motion? Counselor Boone, thank you. Seconder? Counselor Carver?
I'll second it reluctantly because in one of the council meeting training sessions that was held by a council meeting guru somewhere in the province, we were advised that it's not necessary and might even be problematic to receive and file. So I always do so with regret or ambivalence, to say the least.
So what, you just
You
move on?
breeze on by, yeah. I
You
think
just
that's
move
it.
on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not, it's up to this council. That's just my personal.
Okay, let's just have,
Perspective
council
at
has
this
done
point.
things since I came on council, so. it's
Yeah,
first
we
time I've
do
heard-
always review the council procedures policy, and we will be doing so. I think it's on the list for policy and strategy, so might be something we could specifically note, like we did do with simplifying the approval process for minutes. We
Yeah.
could have that discussion, so Penny, if you want to bring it up then.
I'll try to remember.
Yeah,
In the
that's
meantime,
the
I'm
problem.
seconding the motion.
Oh, you're seconding the
Receive
motion,
and
okay.
file.
Receive and file. Okay, well, I think just make sure we have seen it. Right, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. All right, that, and no one has brought up new business. Are there any questions or comments, clerk?
Nothing on YouTube.
Nothing on YouTube, okay.
How many are out there?
4? Okay, thank you for tuning in and thank you our guests for coming. Our business is concluded for now and we are going to move into closed session when we get a motion from one of our members of council. Councilor Carver?
So, Mayor, I move that we go into closed session to discuss MGA 22-2A, acquisition, sale, lease and security of municipal property, MGA 22-2C, personnel matters, MGA 22-2E, contract negotiations, MGA 22-2G, legal advice eligible for solicitor-client privilege.
Okay. There's a seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councilor McCarron. Thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried.